Disclaimer: some of our content varies per video and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, in some content, we are critical of the video games, books, music, videos, and other creators on the platform. While we are a group-owned channel, our opinions expressed are solely on our own and may not always reflect the opinions of those associated with this channel. We at Novakast do not condone any and all harassment, i.g. cyberbullying, doxing, swatting, towards any of the people that we may be critical towards. How's it going, everybody? Rob here, back with another video. And I think we can all agree that some of the individuals of the dog-free community, individuals that, don't like dogs or are afraid of them, are lunatics, for lack of a better word. Every so often, they post content where they display their dislike for dogs, giving information, which granted, there are pieces of information that are important, especially when it comes down to dog attacks, as well as, public display of dogs, which in a sense, sometimes a little bit too much. But overall, in terms of how they go about doing this, where they label everyone as bad, everyone as the problem, and ultimately have unrealistic goals, you start to wonder if they're losing it a little bit. Take like a channel like None, periodically posting content or making community posts on their channel where they post comics, parodies of dogs. And their comment is, they admit they're slaves to these creatures. I'm pretty sure this guy has never heard of what something called a joke. Parody, comedy. But, what do I know, right? But, overall, as I've mentioned in previous videos, you can break down these people into two groups. One group where they acknowledge their fears, which, by the way, I would believe that both of them possibly either have had a bad experience or suffer from xenophobia, which is the phobia of dogs, which, if you must know for everybody, is an excessive and persistent fear of dogs that can significantly impact daily life. And by the way, this fear is more than just a mild dislike of dogs. It really involves intense anxiety, avoidance behavior, and physical symptoms like panic attacks when encountering or even thinking about them. Which, for some of these people, you'd think that, making a YouTube channel about these particular animals would probably be unhealthy. In fact, with the frequency of content or posts that they make on these animals, it almost kind of falls into obsessive behaviors, which, by the way, often associates with obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, involving persistent unwanted thoughts or urges, or obsession, that triggers repetitive, ritualistic behaviors, or, again, compulsions, to reduce anxiety, which, by the way, these behaviors can significantly impact daily life. This can involve intrusive, recurrent thoughts, impulses, or images that causes distress or anxiety. Individuals that recognize these thoughts are excessive and unreasonable, but struggle to control them. And common themes include fear of contamination, need of order, fear of harm, or unwanted disturbing thoughts. Perhaps, let's say their fear of the particular animals. Now, also, let's talk about their compulsions, which is a repetitive behavior or mental act performed to reduce anxiety caused by the obsession. Some examples include excessive hand washing. Let's say if your obsession is germs, it'd be like hand washing, checking things repeatedly, counting, or ordering, or praying. Now, some of these behaviors may feel necessary to neutralize the obsession, even if they don't make logical sense. Also, by the way, compulsions can be time-consuming and interfere with daily activities. I'm sorry, but that reminds me a little bit of some of the individuals on the YouTube side of things in terms of creating content and just repeatedly talking about one particular topic that, in a sense, you treat as everyone as the enemy. And at this point, kind of seems like a losing battle for the most part. Especially when you go about the way where you don't give any discourse, you don't give any leeway in the argument, where you think everyone is bad, everyone is the problem, and you just keep digging yourself into the hole that you've put yourself in. So, overall, as I've said previous times, time and time again, you can break these people down into two parts, or two groups, I should say. The first group, you have individuals that they recognize their phobias, they recognize their issues, and to an extent, they keep their home dog-free, but in a sense, they acknowledge that their neighbors may have dogs, and to an extent, they stay within their boundaries. They ultimately acknowledge their existence, but they don't force ideals. And by the way, at times, some of these people, after some interaction, realize that, some dogs, although they are uncomfortable with them, are not all evil. But as we have to keep going, there are the people in the second group. The individuals, the radicals, the individuals that are the trendsetters, who think that they are, the saviors of humanity, so to speak. And, by the way, before some of these individuals say, we never said that, look at your channels and actually listen to what you actually say. Individuals that claim that if there are no dogs, there would be no problem, not actually giving a logical reason, or actually, if anything, a logical execution of how what they want as a final solution to be implemented. Because let's be fair here. Let's be fair here. Yes, there are dogs that attack people. There are dogs that are problems. There are dog owners that are a problem. But not everyone is a problem. And I think that's the biggest correlation, the biggest thing in this argument, is that although, again, yes, there are individuals that significantly are the bad examples of people in the dog community, you have to recognize that there's some people that are actually respectful to others, that clean up after their dogs, that don't take their dogs to public, that, in a sense, have, let's face it, some of them having smaller dogs that don't cause any problems. But you individuals, some of you people, you just can't accept that. Some of you guys think, oh, it's a dog, so that automatically makes, the individual, the owner, just, the embodiment of Satan, so to speak. Because, let's face it, you can't bring yourself to just have a little bit of leeway in your thought process. You see a dog, you immediately think it's evil. You see a person owning a dog, you immediately think that they're the devil. So, let's be fair here. In terms of the dog-free community, the radicals, the individuals who act like they're in a cult, so to speak, repeating the same mantra, no dogs, no problem. How are you going to implement that particular solution? how are you going to implement the removal of dogs from society? And I think this is a question for everyone. How would that be implemented? And I don't want to hear this, oh, it'll take some time. No, I understand that it would probably take time. But how would you implement it? How would it be done? I think that's the biggest question, because let's be fair here. If you were, let's say, to make a bill right now to say that no dogs should be allowed in society, can you imagine? Because you guys keep bringing up the fact that they are a quote-unquote intrusive species. Let's be fair here. A bill was signed in the government that no dogs allowed in society, and we just released them into the wilds. Do you realize the impact that would have in our wilderness? You do realize that, right? Like, many of the populations of animals in our forests, let's say if we were just to toss them in the forest, many of the populations in the forest would, probably not survive. For the longest time, I want to point out too that individuals have used dogs, whether it be for hunting, for gathering, heck, for even, search and rescue, for individuals that using dogs as dogs to sniff out drugs. You guys will not admit this, or refuse to admit this, because some of you have claimed, oh, they don't have any purpose in society. They still kind of do. And in terms of this situation, where you think that all dogs should be removed, they do have their purposes. I would have to guess that half the drugs that are moved around on this planet wouldn't have been found if it wasn't for the fact that we've trained dogs to sniff out drugs. So you have to admit, and I know you aren't, because let's face it, you are so far within your ways. You would have to admit that they do have their purposes, that there has a reason, or is a reason, for people to own dogs, to utilize dogs. Sure, they're man-made, but at the very least, we have gone through ways of training these animals, domesticating them, to have a purpose, many of them. Again, granted, there are situations where, unfortunately, there are moments of dog attacks, of people who bring their dogs to public, which honestly, I think, to play devil's advocate, to play a Dagon's razor, so to speak, if we are going to discuss dog issues, discuss issues involving these animals, then you know what? Instead of just collectively saying, all dogs are bad, all humans who own dogs are bad, pinpoint the individuals who owned a dog. Pinpoint the situation where dogs have attacked people. Discuss that particular topic or that particular story, instead of collectively claiming that everyone is bad. I think that would be the more healthier way to go about it. But let's be fair here. Some of these individuals are not going to do that. Again, they're just so far in their ways. So, just a thought for everyone. I'm very curious to see what people have to say. I think, well, let's be fair here. We all know what they're going to say. But overall, I think there's a better way to go about it. There is a better way to talk about some of these issues. And to be quite honest, I do feel that these individuals of the dog-free community, the radicals, the cult-like behavior, they are not going it in a very healthy way. In fact, it would almost seem almost obsessive in a matter of speaking. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. So, everybody, what would you like to say? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. If you guys want to follow us on all of our socials, in the description down below. As well as check out our daily content, weekly podcast. The weekly podcasts. Or live streams, for that matter. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Go and take care, and I will see you guys next video.